Welcome to Mount Everest, Earth's most popular place to die in expensive gear. It's cold, it's brutal, and there's literally a stretch called the death zone, and yet thousands of people have paid over $50,000 just to stand on top of it for about 4 minutes before their body starts shutting down. Today we meet 4 people who thought the view was worth it. Welcome, George Mallory. On June 8, 1924, George Mallory, a 38-year-old British climber, left Camp 6 on Mount Everest with his partner, Andrew Irvine. Mallory had already tried to climb Everest twice before. He was one of the most famous climbers in the world. When a reporter asked him why he wanted to climb Everest, he said, "Because it's there." Those 3 words made him a legend. Mallory and Irvine were attempting to be the first people in history to reach the summit. They had no radios, no GPS, and no way to call for help. They were using oxygen tanks, but the equipment was primitive and unreliable. On the morning of June 8th, another climber named Noel Odell spotted them high on the mountain. They were moving fast. Then the clouds closed in and they vanished. They never came back. Nobody knows if they made it to the top. If they did, they reached the summit 29 years before Edmund Hillary in 1953. Mallory's body was found in 1999. Frozen on the north face at 26,760 feet. His skin had turned white and hard as marble. His rope was snapped. His hands were still gripping the rock. Irvine's body has never been found. The camera they carried, which might have had photos from the summit, was never recovered. The mystery of whether they made it to the top has never been solved. Well, Marko Lichtenegger. On May 17, 2005, Marko Lichtenegger, a 38-year-old Slovenian climber, made it to the top of Mount Everest. He had spent years preparing for this moment. He was strong, experienced, and had climbed all over the world. Reaching the summit was exactly what he trained for. Getting back down would kill him. Lichtenegger was climbing without supplemental oxygen, something less than 2% of climbers ever attempt. After summiting, he began his descent but moved too slowly. He was exhausted. The thin air at 29,032 feet was shutting his body down. His team watched from lower on the mountain as he stopped moving on the southeast ridge. He sat down in the snow near the south summit at around 28,700 feet. They called out to him. He didn't respond. They could not reach him in time. Lichtenegger died sitting on the mountain less than 1,000 feet from the safety of camp. His body remained visible on the ridge for years, a warning to every climber who passed below him. He had done the hardest thing, reaching the top, but the mountain does not care about that. It only cares about whether you can get back down. Shreya Shah Chlorfane. On May 19, 2012, Shreya Shah Chlorfane, a 33-year-old from Toronto, stood on the summit of Mount Everest at 2:30 p.m. She was smiling behind her oxygen mask, holding a Canadian flag. She had done it. But the safe turnaround time was 2 p.m. She was already 30 minutes late. Shreya was born in Nepal and had dreamed of climbing Everest since she was 9 years old. She spent $100,000 on this climb, borrowing money against her house. She trained hard, running hills with a weighted backpack, rock climbing on weekends. But there were signs she wasn't ready. She had fallen behind in her preparation. People who knew her worried she might not make it. On the mountain, Shreya was one of the last climbers still going up when others were already coming down. Her team leader begged her to turn back. She kept going. She was going to reach the top no matter what. Coming down was a disaster. Shreya could barely walk. Her speech was slurred. She couldn't think straight. Her Sherpas had to physically hold her up and drag her down the mountain. She had been climbing for 24 hours straight and was on her 9th bottle of oxygen. Then a storm moved in, making everything worse. Shreya Shah Chlorfane died on the descent on May 19, 2012. Her body was found near the climbing route, a Canadian flag placed beside her. She had reached the summit she dreamed about since childhood. The mountain let her have that. Then it killed her. Uli Steck. On April 30, 2017, Uli Steck, a 40-year-old Swiss climber, fell to his death on Mount Everest. What made his death shocking was who he was. Steck was considered one of the greatest alpinists alive. He was called the Swiss machine for his ability to climb faster than anyone on Earth. Steck had set speed records on the Eiger, the Matterhorn, and the north face of Mont Blanc. In 2013, he climbed all 82 of the Alps' 4,000-meter peaks in just 62 days. He was not a reckless climber. He was precise, calculated, and experienced in ways most people will never be. He was on Everest in 2017 preparing for an attempt on a route that had never been completed, climbing from Everest to Lhotse without descending to base camp in between. He was acclimatizing, a routine process of climbing to altitude and coming back down to help the body adjust. On April 30th, Steck set out alone for a solo acclimatization climb to the South Col at 26,000 feet. Other climbers watched him moving up the mountain. Then they saw him fall. He fell down the Nuptse face, a nearly vertical drop, and died on impact. He was found at the base of the face. There were no witnesses to what caused the fall. A loose step, a moment of distraction, a patch of ice. Nobody knows. Uli Steck's death shook the climbing world. If it could happen to him, the Swiss machine, the man who made Everest look routine, it could happen to anyone. That is the final lesson of Everest. The mountain does not grade on experience. It does not reward skill with safety. It simply waits. These were real people chasing the top of the world. Some made it down. Some never left the mountain. Because on Everest, the summit is optional. Getting back alive is what matters. Subscribe for more dark true stories and documentaries.